Welcome to Preparika. We hope you like what you see. Let's start with Shoria
So-
with the authentication screen.
So we use Google Firebase for authentication. We also use it to store all our data, which means that the user and all their data is tied to their account instead of their device. So for sign-in, we provided the user with two options, email, password, and Google. So to register, they press this button, and then they can enter the email password, and it'll check that it's a valid email and a valid password. And to sign in Google, all they have to do is press the Google icon, which we'll do now. Press it here, and as you can see, it logs us in to our app, and there's a loading screen because the app is currently pulling data from Firebase, of the recipes that the user has previously stored. Now going on to Naman, he'll explain our navigation bar.
So we chose to go with the frame layout pattern to store various screens for our app, which are accessible within the navigation bar. So you can click any of those icons to go to the various screens that we've designed. We'll go through each section one by one. Now Asa with the recipe screen.
So here we see the recipe list. You can search for recipes from the search bar, either by their name or their tag. Each recipe here has a picture that you could set, and you can also delete recipes with the little X button at the top right. Now let's click on a recipe to see its details. At the top, we can see a title and we can see its tags. We can see how many minutes we think it'll take to make, how many servings, how many ingredients, and what the directions are to create this recipe. Note, all of these are coming from the Firebase database. Next, let's take a look at how we create recipes. So we can give each recipe a name. We can give it ingredients with a quantity. Please note that the quantity field has field validation, so you can't give it wacky numbers. You can add directions. Shoria, if you don't mind hitting the plus button to showcase how that would look. So yeah, there it populates a field, shows it up in a nice list. You can give it photos. You can pick a photo from the one that you've already taken before. You can give it a tag so that you can filter it later. You can give it an estimated time in minutes and a number of servings, both of which have field sanitization. You can also add the recipe to see it next. Now you can hit confirm. And now you can see that the recipe has been uploaded to the user's profile and downloaded from the Firebase to show in a recipe list. Next, I'll pass it on to Aideen to showcase our scheduling screen.
So here on the scheduling screen, the general flow for the user would be to begin by selecting the date on which they would like to select their meal prep for. The next step would be to select the meal that the user would like to prep for. The 4 options we have provided are breakfast, lunch, dinner, and other, which categorizes any other meal that isn't slotted into the first 3 options. An example would be that the user would like to meal prep their breakfast. They would select the plus button, which would allow them to select the recipe they would like for their breakfast from the drop-down menu, which is populated from their previously cooked recipes. The user could set the time for the meals as well, which provides them with a better tracking of their meal prep throughout the day. Once the user presses the schedule recipe button, this will populate the recipe that they would like to prep in their previously selected category. As you can see, if we flip between the days on the calendar, that allows us to track different meals on different days. And the user also has the ability to delete recipes from their schedule with an added confirmation, which allows them to make edits for their schedule down the road. We're moving on to the budget screen with Khalid.
Thank you, Aideen, for that. This big budget screen is meant to track how much you spend on eating out versus grocery spending. As you can see here, we have a visual indicator to tell you how much you spent of your daily budget or weekly budget. We'll talk about that more in the settings. Let's go ahead and add a budget item here. So I just had Harvey's for dinner. So let's put in Harvey's. And I spent about $18 on that meal. When I click add entry, as you can see, it populates right here and the bar is updated to show how much we spent. Our current budget is $50 for eating out and $100 for grocery shopping. Let's pass it on to the shopping. Let's go to the shopping list screen to show how that works too.
Thanks, Khalid. So this is shopping list, also known as the grocery list. So after recipes are added into a schedule, the ingredients described in the recipes will be automatically added into the shopping list to help our users quickly get a grocery list. And if an ingredient is in more than one recipes added into the schedule, then the quantity of these ingredients will be added up and the sum will show in the list. Also, we have a checkbox in front of each row, which is a check-off function for our users to check off the ingredients once they have already shopped. And there is a search bar at the top of the screen, which we have already demonstrated at the beginning of our demonstration. And then we will pass to our setting page.
So this is our settings page here. As you can see, we have 2 fields to update different budgets, the eating out budget and the grocery budgets. We also have a toggle to enable and disable notifications. We'll talk about that more in a second. But finally, you can also sign out using the settings screen. This is going to be the main place for customization and can be extended down the line to include more settings should we choose to add more. I'll pass it off to Naman to handle notifications and explain how that works in our application.
Thank you, Khalid. Notifications work as one of our requirements that was to send a user notification every morning to remind them to add entries to the app. This is for creating a good habit for the user so they can track their progress. Here we go. Let's test this out. As you can see here, once we've enabled the notifications, we get a notification here telling the user to have a great day and to remember to update their budget. Now let's talk about the architecture that we use for our application. We're using a client-server architecture, the Firebase being the server and the app being the client. The purpose of doing so is to allow authentication and cloud data storage. We use a layer architecture to break our app into various specialized components, such as the UI, backend, and fragment design. We did this to prevent code conflicts and to ensure each member could work on their specialized part of the code independently. Lastly, we use the observer subscriber design pattern to allow models that depend on other models to update as those models update. So, for example, when the recipe model updates, the calendar view model can also update by taking the new recipes that are available for the user to select from.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us in our Q&A. We're excited to answer them. And this has been Preparika. We hope you guys enjoyed meal prepping with us.